What I've produced here is a series of technical documents providing a form of in silico imagination of the processes and systems used in the manufacture of micro and nano devices. Using documents provided, we combine them through a machine learning algorithm to produce new, created fictional documents for these forms of mechanisms. Upon going through and classifying what documents came out, it was also putting out figure descriptions of imagery that should accompany such documents. To make these, I then fed keywords from those descriptions into another machine learning algorithm to produce de novo representations of what these images could be, sort of a reversal of how the description usually is of the image rather than the image is of the description. Between the two, what I've produced is kind of what I've come to think of as a form of a machine's imagination of its own production process. The video here is an additional layer that was created based on some of the imagery provided to us by the Institute of control screens for their own devices, and based on some of the details that were spit out in these documents of a potential machine that might exist.
Hello, I'm Tiia Suorsa, and this is my work Substrates. I got really fascinated of the labor what happened there in the ENA's laboratories where we visited between the machine and human. There are a lot of gestures, and I got fascinated of this part, and I extracted these movements from the video that we had of the visit there, and also I transcoded the explanation, the fragments of sentences to text, and put these together to be this video poetry. Interesting that etymologically poetry is coming from term to make, and this is now putting together these kind of things and researching how is the relationship between machines and devices and humans, and especially in this kind of laboratory environment where everything is really controlled.
Our project is called Lab Reconstruction Artist Guided Tour. The project takes a visual, spatial, logical perspective on the strictly protected environments of technological inventions and production in the field of science. As certain space become an inaccessible and distant presence, the ability to peer into and restore a space through multiple visual materials is a complex problem caught between the public domain and the closed scientific laboratory.
Wir versuchten den Raum durch mehrere Bilder zu simulieren, die sie in der Workshop erhalten hatten, und kombinierten sie mit vielen Informationsfragmenten, die in der Ecke des Internets existierten, und gewannen so die Möglichkeit, den virtuellen Raum frei zu besuchen. In diesem Raum kann die vom Laborpersonal durchgeführte Tour zu einem vom Künstler durchgeführte Tour werden. Und der Laborraum und die Produktion von Wissenschaft und Technologie wird auf eine andere erzählerische Weise verkörpert.
For my work Lab Space, I worked with a program called Mushroom that is used to generate 3D models from real-world objects by using photographs. And I took like every fourth frame of the video documentation of the virtual lab tour in the Fraunhofer ENHAs that we did, and put those frames through the program to let it calculate a virtual 3D space from the lab. See in the video is me interacting with this virtual space through a virtual camera in a 3D program. So it's on the one hand about the human mode of perception versus a machine's mode of perception, but it's also a comment on the format of the workshop, as I'm sharing my screen with the viewer, which is something I think we've all been becoming quite used to in the last year. So even though I'm not physically there, the viewer can still observe me interacting with this virtual space of the lab, a space where I even haven't been in real life, but there is this kind of virtual connection between me, the viewer, and the space at the laboratory.
The artwork would like to explore a new approach of watching a documentation video provided by the ENA Institute. We decided to re-explore this documentation through the use of the editing of this video documentation and the use of the microscope, that is the tool provided by the lab and used by the lab usually. We decided to put in a video laying down on a desk the four faces that are represented in the documentation. The artwork would like to explore a new way of visiting through the ENA Institute. Actually, the audience is invited to explore and to see the video through the use of the microscope and to find unseen details.